We're going to start with a little bit of a follow-up, which will begin with the song of the day. Song of the day, There's Power in a Union. And as far as the artist goes, pick one. There's Power in a Union. You could listen to Utah Phillips' rendition of that song. You could listen to Billy Bragg. You could listen to Joe Pug. You could listen to the Street Dogs if you want a punk version of the song. It's an old Wobbles hymn. There is power in a union. It's a union song. Obviously, that's what it's all about. And it's a great tune. Why am I bringing it up? Well, because it looks like we got some union news. Unions, in this case, do what they're supposed to do. Tim shared this with us. So we covered the Bernie Sanders issue with the Bernie Sanders campaign, where they had a contract where it worked out that everyone was getting the equivalent of $15 an hour, actually $17 an hour. And then it turns out they had to work more, so they had to renegotiate. And so the union and the higher up started talking about an agreement, which is exactly what a union's supposed to do. And during that negotiating time, they said, hey, make sure you're not working too much so that you're not getting less than $15 an hour. That's total standard procedures that is looking out for everybody involved, the campaign, the workers, and everyone. The media took this and spun it and started spreading all this misinformation around it. We addressed that yesterday. Well, guess what? Turns out the union is just doing what unions are supposed to do, and they reached an agreement. Boom. This is from CNN. Bernie Sanders says campaign has reached an agreement with staffers for higher pay. All right, so let's see what's going on here. Senator Bernie Sanders said Tuesday, that's today, as of the recording of this, that his campaign has reached a deal with its unionized staffers to increase their pay, and this is following the negotiation. So here's what Sanders had to say about it. I was insisted that everyone on our staff make at least $15 an hour, and in fact, they're making $17 an hour. The offer that we made to the union several months ago would have accomplished that, and I'm happy to tell you, by the way, that offer was just accepted. We made an offer that would have addressed that problem several months ago. It was rejected, so we underwent negotiations. It's now the offer. It has now been accepted. So here's what Jonathan Williams, a spokesman for the union, has to say. Both the campaign staff and management have engaged in this process in good faith and to achieve a mutually agreed upon outcome. This is what democracy in the workplace looks like. Who added he would like to see other campaigns and every employer in this country rise to the standard that we have achieved. This is getting back to his quote, where the rights of every worker are respected and every voice is heard through a democratic process. Boom. So the union did what they're supposed to do. The higher ups did what they were supposed to do. They worked it out. They came to an agreement. That's what a union's for. That's what a union does. In the Sanders campaign, guess what? They just reached an agreement. Nobody got fired. There was no anger. There were no rifts. There were no splits. It's like, hey, here's what we got to work through. Let's work through it. And it's a campaign. It is a very fast-moving entity. Campaigns are crazy. You're usually having to put in a bunch of extra hours. You're usually having to work overtime, especially if you're working for a campaign that's not only going up against all the other candidates, but it's going up against the establishment and the media too, which is what the Sanders campaign has to do. So an agreement was reached because unions work, and that's what they're supposed to do.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your